Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pirates Ahoy podcast. I have Mirsaneli here, who's been working on the Maelstrom game engine. Mirsaneli, how are you today?
Thank you. First, thank you for the invitation. I would like to say at the beginning of this podcast, I hope that everyone will understand that my English is not the best. And since I'm coming from a small country in Europe, which is also a Slavic country, and it seems that the Slavic people, they like these kind of games. Caribbean games, sea games, and games about ships, tall ships, and etc. So I hope that people will understand that maybe if I need to repeat something or if they don't understand me very well, I hope that they won't mind very much. My day was okay here. It's 8 p.m. Central European time. I was working a bit since I'm a teacher and have some activities at school. And of course, basically, life of an ordinary man.
Awesome. If you don't mind me asking, what do you teach?
I'm a literature teacher, so I teach grammatics and literature of Montenegrin language. It is part of the South Slavic languages. We used to be a huge country in the previous years before the falling apart of our big country, Yugoslavia. I probably have heard probably about it. So when the civil war came in the 90s, when I was born, and the country fell apart, and now most people in the world don't even know about these, newly formed states, and they mostly know about Croatia maybe or Serbia or some larger countries, but not Montenegro. So yes, that's what I teach and that's what I do primarily. But I also I'm very passionate about all kinds of games, but somehow I was just sticked to the Pirates of the Caribbean because I played it when I was a little child. Back in the days, it was 2003, I think, when the game came out, when it was released, and it was very interesting for us. I remember having an old PC. It was the time of Pentium and old processors that didn't have too much power, and we also had very bad PCs, so it was a struggle to play that game at the time. It was the old Windows XP operating system, so somehow, when I saw that Maelstrom existed, and when I uh, came to know about the existence of such a new engine like the one that Jeffrey made, it made me interested about it. So I was trying to investigate a bit further, a bit about it, how it works, and can it support the older Storm engine games. And that was my first contact with Maelstrom engine. And then after that, when I saw that it has possibilities to run the older games, I kind of, became interested to maybe try do something. But it was very hard for me, and it is now also at the current state. Even though I learned a lot about the C programming language and about how the engine works, I mean, I'm not a programmer, so for me it is pretty hard, to make some major things and some major improvements. But for these 2 past years that I was working on it, I think we made quite a progress. I hope you are hearing me.
Oh, yeah. No, I apologize. Yeah, no, yeah. That's really cool. Yeah,
I
sorry
mean,
about that. I was still dealing with a slight
no,
audio
no,
issue
no,
on my end.
don't worry.
But yeah, but yeah, so yeah, that's great to hear. and yeah, I think it's really cool how ultimately we have so many people from so many different like like just from so many different areas, so many different countries and whatnot on this podcast, and I always like to hear the other perspectives. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, so and I apologize. I just realized my Discord sounds were bleeding in the recording, but but yeah, um, so what um kind of going a little more into Maelstrom itself, what do you do specifically for Maelstrom, or like what's your role and all that? How would you describe it?
I mean, it's not very easy to describe my role and the part that I play in the whole process, but uh, it's an interesting path and interesting way that started when I learned about the existence of the Maelstrom engine. That's something that I mentioned earlier, and I was more active at that time at the Pirates Ahoy forum, and I was following the website and the activities there. At the time, I remember it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and at that time, I think the community was much more active than unfortunately it is now, and that is my impression. Maybe it is still active, but I don't, I don't visit the website as much as I did in the past. Uh, we had some uncomfortable things that happened, but it is like history, and we don't need to think about that too much, because I think that at the current state and at the current moment, the world of PC games, or if I can say about pirate games, these kind of games that are trying to be historically accurate, is becoming very much alive. So at the moment we have Maelstrom, we have the Storm engine that is being an open source project, and I'm very excited about the upcoming Caribbean Legend PC game, because I think it's going to be an amazing game. On the other hand, last week we heard a lot of new things about Corsair's legacy. So there is much development happening, and maybe maybe the focus and the interest is going more to these like social medias like Discord and others. But I still from time to time I go to Pirates Ahoy website, mostly because I need the storylines that are given there about certain storylines that I play. So I try to do the bug fixing. I mean, I was speaking with DH, and he told me that about this introduction, maybe we can speak about what was my motivation to start the whole project about porting New Horizons to the Maelstrom engine. And it is funny to say, but I think my motivation was a selfish one, because I wasn't able to accept the fact that in 2020, I think it was at that time, we are having a New Horizons, so such a uh, great and such a awesome mod for an old game. It was like on the Storm engine 2.0. I mean, who would want to play? We are at the current state. I mean, who would want to play that game in an old engine? Uh, the technology is advancing. We are having new operating systems. It was very hard to run New Horizons. I always had to do workarounds. Yeah, everyone who plays New Horizons, even nowadays, if you play it in the old engine, you have to do some FPS, tricks, some kind of things that would make the game run on Windows 11 and Windows 10. So I wasn't able. I just didn't want to accept that fact, and so I decided to try, to give a try to it, because it wasn't easy. And the first thing that I saw when I learned about Maelstrom engine, and it's for people who, and for the record, for people who don't know about Maelstrom too much, it has been in development for quite a few years now. I think like 5 or 6 years have passed since the Chess Jeffrey started, developing the engine, and it has been very, very polished to this moment. It is a very stable engine. And I remember that I said to myself, okay, I will try, to port the scripts, and there were also other people with me. I mean, I haven't been alone in this project, and I have to mention everyone, starting, from Kill Phil or Pilat, how is his name now in Buccaneers Reef, the Discord channel. There was also Quiet Sun. There were many other peoples. I had a few help from Mitro Costa. He's also a great guy from the Corsairs, from the Caribbean Legends, sorry, development team. I'm not quite sure if he's working still with them, but he has also helped me sometimes, with some problems that I had with scripts and with the code. So basically, this port of New Horizons to the Maelstrom engine happened mostly thanks to our, enthusiasm, our desire to run the game or to run the mode on a new and advanced engine that could handle the new operating systems and new hardware, if I can say like that, and the hardware and the software. So basically, that was the motivation, and I have been working on it for more than 2 years now. And I will speak later, and I hope there will be some questions about the differences between the new Horizons on the Maelstrom engine and the old one on the Storm engine 2.0. There are differences, and I will try to give the answers for all of them, but mostly I want people to realize and to understand that I am not a coder, I am not a programmer, I'm a literature teacher, and that's what I do, that's my primary work. But the passion for pirate games, and especially for the old Pirates of the Caribbean, which I think, I don't know why, but I think that it was in many aspects much, much better than the later ones, the ones that came in the engine 2.5. I think it was the Caribbean Tales engine. Then 2.8, the City of Abandoned Ships. There were some flaws in these engines, like especially the ones that I mentioned and that I speak of a lot of times. I try to give the comparison between these two engines. And for instance, the old 2.0 engine, maybe because it was like backed up by the Disney, or I don't know why, but it had so many potential, and it had even better particles. In some cases, it even had better graphics than the later ones. I mean, the graphics are very realistic, and if you are looking at New Horizons on the Maelstrom engine, you will be fascinated, and I think it will be the same when that same mod is going to be ported to the Storm engine, the one that Hemi, if I spelled correctly, his nickname is working on. So it will be the official one. So people need to understand that New Horizons on the Maelstrom engine is not the official Pirates Ahoy product. It is just a ported mode for an engine that was built by Chess Jeffrey and the Buccaneers Reef team. So sorry, I speak too much because that's my profession. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Oh no, certainly. I appreciate you going into detail on that, and yeah, yeah. I mean, ultimately, we're here kind of to answer questions and just kind of talk about the project in general and whatnot. So looks like yeah, a couple people are saying they're thankful, and all looks like we have a couple questions in. I'll start with Lucas's. I'll just put all Lucas's question into one question, and then Deutsch has one, and then Alex has another. Which I might know the answer to Alex's, but I just want to make sure. So Lucas was saying basically, when playing Storm Engine games, they usually run into the problem that the FPS are higher. When the FPS are higher than 60, like the menus get messed up. Like some aspects of the gameplay are in slow motion, and it's clearly a problem with the engine not being able to process more than 60 frames a second. Is this a recurrent problem in Maelstrom, or was this fixed? And also, they're asking, is this a complete port?
I'm also reading the same question on my phone. So about Lucas' question, I just need to explain that Maelstrom engine, just like the new engine that is being released by the Caribbean Legend development team, so the Storm open source engine, if I can say so. Both engines, as far as I understand, because you need to know that I am not developer of the engine. I don't even know how it runs completely. I have a vision about it. I might have something in mind how it might be working, but I'm not completely sure. From what I know, from first hand by speaking with Chess Jeffrey and our long chats that we had, Maelstrom engine runs on DirectX 9, and it is something that is not just a label, but it is really running on DirectX 9, and you can be assured, because when you use reshade, effects that you can download on the internet. So when you are using the reshade, you can use it with the Maelstrom engine. For instance, you cannot use it with the old ones because they were running on DirectX 8. So let me get back to the question that Lucas asked. So it has fixed the FPS problem. You won't have FPS problem on Maelstrom engine, because Maelstrom engine is made, first it is ported to DirectX 9, and then it is made to run with the latest operating systems and the latest hardware that the current PCs can have. So about that, I don't know. Did he ask anything else? Sorry.
No, I don't think. Yeah, he seems to be satisfied with that answer. Moving, and I think you kind of answered this with what you said, and from my understanding, but Deutsch asked, does Maelstrom completely overwrite the Storm engine? My understanding is it's just the game, but in the new engine. So, technically, yeah, it does overwrite the Storm engine. Is that correct?
Technically, yes. Technically, it overwrites. But if we are speaking about the base of the engine, it is based on the Storm engine. I mean, the Maelstrom, Storm X. We even had Storm X. I follow these kind of things a lot, but I'm not sure what is Storm X and what is Storm open source engine. But it is, these are similar engines. Of course, there are things that you cannot know about Maelstrom engine, because it is a closed source engine. It is not open source. It is compiled by Chess Jeffrey. Only he knows what kind of changes he did, and I can tell you that he did many changes to the engine, because he is such a great programmer. I mean, that guy is like a genius. He is genius for his profession and what he does. I mean, he does it extremely well. So I am pretty sure that he made many optimizations to the engine itself, and I know that he fixed like tons of bugs that existed in the old engine. One of the major ones that everyone remembers, I think, was the mast falling. When you hit the masts of a ship, if they would fall, it would make a crash to desktop immediately. Like that doesn't exist in Maelstrom engine, so it has been fixed. And I think the new Storm open source engine that is like the official engine of the To Each His Own, and now the Caribbean Legend. I think it also fixed that problem. I'm not sure that it happened there, but it used to happen in the old engines. So these kind of things, they are all fixed in Maelstrom engine, and they are working very nicely.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and Alex, Alex had a question here. Will the game have co-op? It sounds like, I mean, ultimately this is just kind of a new engine, so I don't think it's adding any new features like co-op, is it?
It is not. It's not adding anything because you can. I first of all, I'm not a developer, so I I have to point that because I don't have knowledge even sometimes for some more simple problems that I encountered during my porting of the mod. But maybe in the build 15 that is being developed by Hemi, because I see that Hemi is a very serious programmer and a man who knows. He knows his job. He knows what he's doing. So I think he might be able to add many contents that I don't add. So I always try to point that the Maelstrom New Horizons is just a port of the the original one that was made for the old Storm 2.0 engine from the Pirates of the Caribbean PC game. But I will talk about it later, and maybe someone will ask that. But I have made some notes, so I will speak about what we changed, because we had to change. Obviously, the engines are not the same, so we had to change some things, and so those interventions that have been done to New Horizons in the Milestone version, they are not huge, but they are pretty large, if I can say, because they change the way that the game works, the techniques of the game itself in many aspects. One of the most obvious ones is the combat system. So in the old New Horizons, you have the old click, like click fighting. You don't have many moves to do. You just have that kind of simple attack and defense system. But in New Horizons, in Maelstrom engine, we have adopted the 2.8 fighting system. So it is working the same, like, for example, in Sea Dogs To Each His Own or City of Abandoned Ships, in a completely same way. I just saw that Lucas asked, is it a complete port? Yes, it is. It is a complete port of New Horizons.
Yeah, and I think we had actually addressed that in the last question too, and with you mentioning the combat, that also I think answers Lucas's question of what would the biggest difference be between the two engines, and I think that it kind of touches on Kiss of Kill's question, where it's like gameplay mechanics wise, what can be achieved in Maelstrom that you can't do in the Storm engine, and you definitely mentioned the combat system. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Maybe I can just point that since it is Maelstrom engine inside itself supports the scripts for all Storm engine games, starting from the oldest one, the Pirates of the Caribbean 2.0 on the Storm 2.0 engine, then Storm 2.5 Caribbean Tales, then we had City of Abandoned Ships. You can even port, I mean, it's not legal, but you can port even Sea Dogs To Each His Own to work on the Maelstrom engine, because they are similar engines. They have the similar way of working. So in the question that Kiss of Kill asked about gameplay mechanics, in Maelstrom engine you can achieve many things, and especially if we are talking about the New Horizons mode, for example, from we even it's what Jeffrey did for me, because I cannot do these kind of changes inside the engine, but I asked him, and he has been uh, very helpful to me in that way, because uh, personally, Buccaneers Reef is the home of the Eras mode, of that mode that they have been developing for so many years. They even developed the engine itself for their mode, so that was the primary goal. But New Horizons, for example, combines the new particles and the old ones. So you can basically, if you want to turn off the old particles, you can do that very easily. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to, because I think that the old particles and the old gun firing smokes, many things that New Horizons team made, they were absolutely amazing, and in many aspects they are much better than the ones that exist in the newer games. And if the users have been following, I even suggested to the Caribbean Legend developers for them, to adopt the old particles from 2.0 engine. So it is like a hybrid, if I can say, like a hybrid of these old engines put together inside the Maelstrom engine. That is what Maelstrom actually is.
Gotcha. Um, and yeah, and Alex has had a few questions regarding features. I kind of wanted to sum it up all in one. I mean, this is just a port of New Horizons into the Maelstrom engine, right? Like everything you can do in New Horizons, you
Yes,
can
yeah,
do in
the
Maelstrom.
same.
But but you guys aren't adding things like new characters, new ships, or new missions, right?
We only added some new ships that were, they were like retextured ships, some pirate versions. For example, the East India Man ship. We made some variants of that ship. We made some other ships that were made by Kill Phil, one of the guys from Buccaneers Reef, and he has been very, also very helpful, and he shared some ideas, and I of course put them in the official version. Uh, so mostly, we added some models, we did some texture changes. For instance, the old loading screens that were present in the old New Horizons mode, they were they were not in the HD resolution, so I made all the loading screens, and it was a huge work to do, because uh, obviously New Horizons mode has very much loading screens for all the scenes. So I had to redo all that, find some pictures on the internet, and make the loading screens look better. So most of these changes is what we made. We didn't add features, because it wasn't my goal. If I wanted to do that, I would join the development team. But it was, as I said at the beginning, my motivation was just to make the game for myself, so that I can run it on a proper engine and play it without having any issues. So that was like the first goal, and that's why I cannot say to anyone, unfortunately, that anything will be added to New Horizons on the Maelstrom engine, especially that now, after almost 3 years of development and porting, I just don't feel that I would, I'm not very much motivated to add contents when at the same time, the official New Horizons mode is being developed, and by Pirates Ahoy team, obviously the build 15. So I just wanted to prove the point that you can play this mod on a perfectly up to date engine, which is New Horizons and Maelstrom.
Definitely. And I'm going to actually skim over a couple of the development questions because it sounds like that's a little less your wheelhouse. So some of the more specific stuff you might not be able to answer properly. Does that sound? Is that what you're kind of getting at, or?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, I was just saying, like, it sounds like you're saying you said you're a little less involved on the development side. So I was going to maybe skim over a couple of questions that had to do
Well,
specific with very specific dev aspects.
I I can give just short answers to the questions that I'm reading. For example, the Alexi Top Pop is asking, will it be possible to play with famous pirates such as Charles Vane? So no, it won't be possible because someone needs to make them and someone needs to make the storyline. Making storylines needs developers, and we are unfortunately very scarce with developers and coders. So it's not possible. Unfortunately, I will have to disappoint him. We cannot add these kind of things, but I would be the first one who would be very happy if there was a Black Sail, for example, storyline in New Horizons, because it has the potential to make it. It has all the resources for that kind of storyline.
Yeah, I was, and essentially what I was I was just because Alex is asking a lot of really specific questions about that, and to be clear, I mean this is like just another engine for the same mod. Yeah, and that's kind of the point. I was, yeah, and I was, yeah, and also just so you know, you may want to pull your mic a little bit closer. It got a little bit far there for a second, but yeah, so yeah, it just and that's why I was saying like I may kind of sum up a couple of the questions I see that have to do with specific development. Just because I mean, like you've been saying, and I just don't want you to have to repeat yourself too much. This is really just New Horizons on the newer engine, and the newer engine does have some newer features, like with combat, like you're saying, but this isn't like a new build mod.
Yeah, definitely. It is not a new build mod, and it won't be in the future because, as I said, and maybe I'm becoming repetitive, but there is already a New Horizons mod that is being built on the Storm engine, the Storm open source engine. So there is no point in making like two parallel projects that are, having the same ending or the same goal. I mean, why would we make New Horizons for the Maelstrom engine and try to develop, the mod, when on the other hand you have the official one, which will, I believe, in the future maybe have even more people, working on it, not just Hammy, but I believe that because Pirates Ahoy is a larger community than the Buccaneers Reef, I think that in the future it might have some new people working on it, and like it was all the enthusiasm when the New Horizons mode was started. It was a large project. There were a lot of people working on it, so I believe that it will happen the same way with the new engine that Pirates Ahoy has, if I can say, accepted officially, and is working on it. I see that DH asked about what is the current state of the mod and what are your future plans. So I said there are no plans. Basically, I have finished most of the work, and like it's 95%, if I can say, stable. You cannot encounter any bugs. You don't have crashes to desktop. You don't have those kind of issues. You might find some strange glitched models because what we did, and maybe here I'm pointing now the difference between the Storm 2.0 and the Maelstrom version of New Horizons. So we had to adapt all the models, and it was a huge work to do all the character models. We had to make them work with the new combat system because the old ones were glitched. So there was a script that was developed by some Russian developers, and it was a script, for converting the models inside the Blender, and mostly I'm using Blender for these GM files. So we had to, convert all the files, all the GM files for the characters so that they work with the new Maelstrom combat system. Of course, that caused some models not to be converted because we did a batch conversion, and sometimes I find some of these models being glitched. They sometimes look like spiders. Their hands are completely messed up. So I fix these kind of things, and we put them in the new updates on each website that is the official one for the Maelstrom engine.
Okay, yeah, and I apologize. I'm just trying to get moving along with the questions right now since we're a little bit behind here. I just want to make sure we address all the questions we can. I'm actually just going to go right in the next question. Is an engine only available on itch.io, or is it published on other platforms as well? Which I think you kind of did just answer, but I just wanted to make sure you clarified on
It's
that.
only on the each website. At the for the moment, only there.
Yeah, and then DH was asking, have you played all the storylines in the game?
Yes, I have played all of them, and I have finished most of them successfully. I haven't finished all of them. I'm currently doing the Assassin storyline and also the Bartolomeo storyline. And I haven't found any bugs so far, so that is very encouraging. So it means that in the future, if we put much more effort in the, and I'm now speaking about both development teams, not just the milestone version, but also the one that is tending to become the build 15. I think that it can be a completely playable mode, even better than the old one that was made for the Storm Engine 2.0, the one for the old Pirates of the Caribbean game. About the question about settlements, I already said that there won't be those kind of things because we are not adding features.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I was kind of skimming over a couple of those questions because we had kind of answered that, and I just didn't want you repeating yourself too much on that. A couple questions I see that may be nice to have some clarification on. Does Maelstrom make it easier to add new locations, items, ships, and gameplay mechanics, etc.? And also, will support like dynamic UI sizes for the higher resolutions?
About the first question, so it makes it easier, but on the other hand, it is the same mechanics that existed in the old engine. So basically, yes, it makes it easier.
I think you may have cut out there for a second. It makes it easier, but what? I apologize. I think there's some audio issues. We're having a really hard time hearing you. Maybe try turning your mic. Like, I'm not sure what you're recording on exactly. If you're on your phone, maybe try pulling it closer. I apologize. I'm not able to hear you. It's just I'm hearing little cuts occasionally.
I think otherwise it would be better if you just disconnect real quick and log into your phone once more on Discord. Maybe it fixes itself.
Yeah, we can certainly do that if need be.
In the meantime, I can already give out the copies, so the keys, the copies to Maelstrom. Since I have 20 copies and we are only 17 people in the audience, I figure everyone is getting a license anyway. So I'm just going to, that's the usual thing. Write me a message or a DM my account and I'm going to give you a key, because otherwise the problem is that the people are always always going for one key, and then the key is already used, and so just write me a message. It's easier this way.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, DH. And Mirsaneli, can you try speaking again?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Maybe I was hearing you perfectly well, but maybe something happened with my microphone or my. I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine now. Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry you had
Sorry
that.
for
Sorry you had that brief issue. I know Discord Mobile can be a little bit funny, so
yeah.
yeah. I apologize. I forget where we even were in that, but you did mention it would make it easier, but ultimately it is kind of the same mechanics. But the one and I see Alex was asking, will it have a graphical improvement? And if you check out any of the videos, you can see it is a clear graphical improvement as well. But to P. Moranison's question, I think I said that right. Basically, specifically in regards to like UI scaling for like really high resolutions, does Maelstrom allow for the dynamic UI sizes and whatnot?
Yes, it supports, because when I was working, I was like working endlessly. So many nights I stayed up late, because you get hooked up. When you start working something, you just you forget that you need to eat or to go to bed to sleep. And I spent many nights working on these kind of things, fixing these kind of things. So yes, that is where New Horizons and Maelstrom New Horizons are very different, because I actually ported something that Jeffrey made for the Eras mode. So the Eras mode and the Caribbean Legend will have that. I saw that they added that feature. So in the options menu you can do the UI scaling. So, for instance, if you have a huge resolution monitor, you can very easily, adjust the UI scaling, and it will look perfectly well in the large monitors. Because we had people complaining that on the resolutions that were larger, than the 1080p. They had issues seeing things. It was very tiny. Everything was very small. So New Horizons Maelstrom version has this thing in the options menu. You can adjust the UI scaling. So we added that. Yes, that's what's different.
Gotcha. Yep, and I think as at least in the modern day, it's debatable whether resolutions will go higher necessarily, but just getting stuff to support the current resolutions is definitely important with any new projects. But also, but moving on to the next question, are there any mod tools available for the new engine?
There aren't. These kind of things are not available for the Maelstrom engine, because I need people to understand that Maelstrom is a closed source engine. It is not open source. You don't have access to the engine itself. So even I'm very close with Jeffrey and the Buccaneers Reef team. I don't have access to that. Nobody has. So it is a closed source project. I know that there were people complaining about that, but I personally, I perfectly respect the decision of the developer to have it that way. I mean, it was his personal solution, so I cannot complain about that, as long as he adds features that I ask from him. So unfortunately, you cannot mod anything in the engine itself, because it's closed source.
Okay. Yeah, and yeah, and I kind of figured that. Acrimal S was saying basically like, and and I don't think he quite understands. Maelstrom is just the engine. You actually put your games into it. So he was asking, are new fixes appearing in your build, or have you stopped adding updates for the main build? But my understanding is you just add the game to that engine, so you should be able to add the newest builds to it for New Horizons, correct, including the updates. Correct?
Yes, that is correct. But he made a very good question about adding the fixes that are released constantly by the Pirates Ahoy development team for the old engine. But I stopped, like, the latest build that I made was the one from the 6th April of 2023, so from this year. But I didn't add the latest fixes because from my experience, it caused me trouble. It caused me problems in many aspects. One of the most, how can I say, one of the most the most common one is because when I add those fixes that Grey Roger releases on the Pirates Ahoy website, they always, how can I say, they mess up the code, to put it in the simple words. So it breaks something that I already fixed for Maelstrom. So that is, and as much as I pay attention to everything and follow what I'm doing, sometimes you just lose concentration and you forget that you already fixed something, so you need to merge these fixes that he released together with the ones that you already did, and then it is a step backwards for me. So I decided to wait a bit longer before I add some new changes because, as I said, it makes trouble for me very much.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying all that, and then and I think that may tie into the next question asked by Arlington V. Were there any unexpected problems in moving the game from Storm Engine 2 to Maelstrom, like the Hungry Rats bug in COAS on Maelstrom?
Hungry Rats bug is how can I say, it's not an engine problem. So it is a script problem. It is related to the game itself. So since New Horizons is completely different than the COAS, it doesn't have that problem. You even don't have, for example, the officers losing loyalty mode, which was fixed for the City of Abandoned Ships. You don't have that in New Horizons because they are different games in many aspects.
Okay, gotcha. And then and then next question from Alex was more boats be added, but you'd mentioned that a few boats had already been added.
Yeah, a few of them. Yes, a few of them.
Yeah, and let me take a look here. So Kiss of Kill is asking, will Maelstrom be open source in the future? Is there new documentation for Maelstrom other than the ones for Storm Engine? And can new developers need to adapt to Maelstrom, or can they use Storm Engine then port it to Maelstrom?
I don't have that kind of information. I'm not sure if it will be ever an open source engine. For now, it is closed source. So in the future, it might be, but again, it is not a question for me, but maybe for Chess Jeffrey, who is the developer of Maelstrom engine. And about the second part of the question, can new developers need to adapt to Maelstrom? Yes, there are some things that you need to adapt to Maelstrom because there is something inside the code that is called syntax, and the syntax of Maelstrom engine had some changes that were done. Those interventions were done by Chess Jeffrey, and they were mostly related by Russian developers that, since it is not their native language, they made some small mistakes, grammatically speaking. So he fixed these kind of issues. But when you use that kind of function inside the, program script, it will cause it won't start. So you have to adopt these kind of things according to the changes that were done inside the Maelstrom engine itself. Maybe the new Storm open source engine will have that as well. I remember that I had a lot of trouble when we were porting New Horizons, the 2016 build to 2018. I didn't know what was the problem, and then I saw that Chess changed inside the engine. There was a library, as it is spelled in English language, and someone wrote library. I don't know who added that, but I asked Jeffrey what was the problem. Why it won't start, and I see that everything is okay with the scripts. He said your defines are not good. You just need to correct the changes in English as I have done in the engine itself. So these kind of things can be a little obstacle when you are trying to port something for Maelstrom. So you need to be in contact with Chess Jeffrey.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I know, and I know especially since the what was I going to say? The Sea Dogs and the Pirates of the Caribbean community. It's really international. So I know sometimes there are certain language barriers between certain members and certain things like that. And yeah, I know that's always been a little bit of a thing. Okay, so we answered that. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to. There are a few people talking here, so I'm just trying to find the next question. And Kiss of Kill, if you don't mind me asking, who's working on the engine from Pirates Ahoy's forum? I'm assuming he means Maelstrom engine. And that so who from the Pirates Ahoy forums is working on Maelstrom engine?
I'm not familiar that anyone from the Pirates Ahoy is working. I know that there are people from Pirates Ahoy community who are using the engine itself. Even tonight, there might be 20 new players that will get the key, from the giveaway. But there might be people who are modding. I mean, I don't have contact with someone who is actively developing and using Maelstrom engine at the same time, but it doesn't mean that that there won't be people. I mean, these kind of engines, they have a lot of potential, and if you just want to investigate furthermore, and if you want to see what kind of pirate games you can make, you just need to look at the YouTube and try to find the quadratic team. It was a Russian team. I don't think they are more active. They are not working. I haven't seen that they have been releasing videos in the recent years, but until 2017, 2018, they were doing fantastic things. Like they were making new islands, which were like they had trees and everything. They were more realistic, not like mountains and hills, but very, very nice islands according to the original Caribbean map. So you can always make new mods, but just you need to devote some time to it, because I'm a married person and I have a wife, and I cannot dedicate so much time to the game development as much as I would like to.
Gotcha. Yeah, so let's see here. Yeah, and I'll be interested to take a look at it myself personally. And then there's this one question here. Is the new Horizons port based on build 14 or the newer build 15 version of the mod? So I'm pretty sure that the build 15 is the open source engine, and the build 14 is the code going from the older Storm engine into Maelstrom. So I'm assuming it's just based on the build 14, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So the one that I develop for Maelstrom, it's always based on build 14. So it doesn't have anything with build 15 because it wouldn't even run. Again, because of the the engine differences.
Yeah, I figured that. I didn't want to just answer that myself though, without making sure that was the case with you. The next question from Alex. Do you get? And I think you kind of answered this before too. Like when you said you weren't really looking to add too many more features right now, but will more swords be added to the game? I'm assuming.
One sword has been added. One sword has been added by Killfield. It's a very nice looking. I don't even know where he found the model, but we added it, so you can get it. It's like a bit like fantasy looking sword, but it's very nice model. But no more than that. I mean, when someone when someone approaches, if I can say like that, on the Discord channel and says, for example, can you add this or that, I always try to add things, even though sometimes I'm a bit selfish because I have my vision of development of New Horizons, and there are many things, there are many tiny things that are different in details, which someone who has played the original New Horizons, and if he plays my version or our version, I can say so, I'm kind of the only one working on this at the moment. So there are huge differences. The most common difference and the largest one, the one where I spent like almost 6 months on it, is the weather system. So I have rebuilt together with Jeffrey, I have rebuilt the whole weather system. So it is completely random. It is completely producing different waves in all different situations. So it is something that I'm very proud of, and that's for my opinion something that makes New Horizons on Maelstrom engine very unique, because that weather system is something that you don't have on build 14, and obviously build 15 will have to make. I believe that they will make their own weather system.
Alrighty, awesome. Yeah, so Deutsch was saying the graphics in the screenshots looks much better. Is there any use of reshade or ENB, or is that part of the engine?
That is part of the engine. Of course, you can use reshade for the ENB. I wasn't able to find any files on the internet that you could link with the Maelstrom engine. So, but reshade is pretty similar to ENB. So mostly it has all the features of ENB, even more than that, because you can use tons of different effects. And if anyone is using Maelstrom, I say go for it. I mean, use reshade. It can make the game look completely different.
Yeah. Awesome. And I can actually answer this next question because we've gone over it, but we've also gone over this kind of in other podcasts too. Alex was asking, will the game have Steam Workshop? And you guys aren't on Steam, so obviously no. But
No.
Also, one thing I do kind of want to bring up for everyone too, when a game's put on Steam, to add Steam Workshop support is like a whole new development thing you have to add. You have to add support for the Steam Workshop, and if they're not planning on porting it to Steam, and this goes for any developer, if they're not planning on putting it on Steam, then obviously you're not going to have Workshop support. But even if it's on Steam, putting in Workshop support is a whole other thing. And as far as I'm aware, you don't have any plans to put it on Steam or Steam Workshop at this time, correct?
I mean, I cannot make plans because I'm not the owner of the engine. I'm just the user of the engine. So I use the engine to build the mod, or to be more precise, to port the mod, because it's not my to do anything with it. It is like, everyone's mod. Since it is free, everyone can do whatever he wants with. So this is like a version of New Horizons that was released by Pirates Ahoy. Nothing more than that is. I just cannot do anything with the engine itself. It is up to Jeffrey if he wants to put it on Steam. Okay, he doesn't want. I don't think he has those kind of plans.
Gotcha. Yeah, and from everything I've heard, I don't think there was really anything I'd heard in regards to that either. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't something I was completely just blatantly missing. And then Arlekin V was asking, "Do you know the story about Sea Dogs 4? It could be on a game. It could be a game on Bethesda's Creator Engine, and it was developed by Seaward Studio. But I guess when the current drama was happening with Russia, the project was essentially paused, and only a few screenshots were left. Do you happen to know anything about that?"
I haven't heard about that anything. So I know that there are like tons of Sea Dogs games. There are even some Russian versions that we, from the international community, we didn't have the chance to play them because they are obviously just in Russian language. But I haven't heard about the particular one that he's mentioning here about Sea Dogs 4.
Yeah, because my understanding too is like because I think we even had DH. You can step in and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but we had someone stepping in who was specifically talking about the Sea Dogs like actual IP, like using the word Sea Dogs in a new title is basically impossible because there are different rights holders in Europe and America, and my understanding is the ones in Europe were giving some issues. So I don't think we'll ever see a game again with the Sea Dogs title on it. DH, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, so basically the problem is that there are quite a lot of Russian companies, let's name them like this, that are trying to make a game in the spirit of the Sea Dogs series, but not using the Sea Dogs name because it's not really clear who exactly has the rights to the Sea Dogs name. And so with this Corsair 4 or Sea Dogs 4, I think it was actually called Corsairs 4, if I'm not mistaken, because again, there also the problem was with the Sea Dogs name that it's really just not clear who owns anything about it. And this is also why Caribbean Legend is called Caribbean Legend. And Corsair's Legacy is then the other game that is also not named anything like Sea Dogs just because of these name rights.
Right. Yeah. But yeah. Sorry for anyone who wanted another game with the name Sea Dogs on it, but I think currently with the kind of quagmire state of the actual Sea Dogs name and that IP, I personally don't think we'll see another game with the Sea Dogs title on it. It'll just be the spiritual successors we've seen. And that's, although I am going to move on from that point because I don't think that's necessarily too relevant to the Maelstrom engine here. And let me take a look here. And so another question here. And I don't want to, and hopefully I'm not making you repeat yourself too much here, but Deutsch asked this in kind of a different way, so I just want to make sure there wasn't anything else we need to cover here. So what are the core changes of it being on Maelstrom? Is it mainly stability and incorporating mechanics, or is it anything else? Is there anything you want to add to that? Like, what are the major changes that improve the game?
I spoke about some of the features, but maybe some users maybe they joined later. But I will say them again so that it's good to know. So the main difference between the Maelstrom version and the original one, of course, is the stability first, the graphics, and these kind of things that we added. They are small things, but they make the huge changes because, of course, they make the gameplay easier. So we added the UI scaling. We even added in the last update, we added the sequential cannon fire. So for those people who like the cannons to fire at sequences, it is something that you can do now. You can just go to the options screen and enable it or disable it according to your preference. So we made these kind of changes. We made changes to the combat system. So, for example, if you are blocking during a combat or during battle, if you are blocking and if the NPCs surround you, in the COAS and the other Storm Engine 2.0 games, if you were hit by the I don't know how it's called, like the hardest blow or the hardest hit, the one with the middle button. If you were hit by that one, it wouldn't inflict any damage. So I changed that because you were in a way immortal by holding the block button. You couldn't be killed. So I changed that and I made it possible for the NPCs to do a bit of damage to your player. And these are interventions that I did. They are something that were my personal preference because it wasn't logical for me that you are fighting 10, for example, you are surrounded by 10 soldiers or 10 pirates, and you are the only one left, and you can just hold the block button and you won't be killed. So now you can be killed very easily because when they hit you with that hardest blow, it just they inflict damage. So there are these tiny details. There's a lot of them, like tons of them that I made personally, but a lot of time has passed during the past 2 years. I don't even remember some of them. But the most obvious changes are these ones. We added blood, for example. There is blood and gore in New Horizons version. For those who have played the game or the mod in the old engine, there was no blood. I mean, if you hit someone, there was just no blood. So we added that. We added some tweaks in the distance, for example, from the player to enemy, when you can spawn to the map and when you cannot. There are some changes that they are not obvious, but if you compare, and if you are the old player of New Horizons for 2.0 engine and you start playing on the Maelstrom, you can see these kind of differences. They are very obvious.
Yeah, nah, I'm sorry. Was there something you wanted to add to that?
No. I think, I mean, it's basically that. There are changes. As I said, there are a lot of changes. Some of them I don't even remember, but the most obvious ones are these changes. I even did rescaling of some textures because the textures were very old and with very low resolution. So I changed quite a few of them, and it looks much more polished and much more different and better, more appealing to the eye when you are playing the Maelstrom version.
Gotcha. Um, and just kind of some things going on in the chat that I kind of wanted to clear up. Arlekin, Bethesda never owned the rights to Sea Dogs. They were merely the publisher. Akella originally owned the rights to Sea Dogs, and it's changed hands and so many times, and and also we're not entirely sure 100% what happened to Akella as a company. Like, I mean, they're defunct now, but the specifics of that are generally kind of not clearly known. And Akramal S was kind of mentioning was mentioning some extra things here. Nobody took away the rights. Sadly, it's kind of a weird. Unfortunately, yeah, we could keep going on and on about that. But yeah, it's just unfortunately the Sea Dogs IP is just kind of in a weird. Pardon my slight French here, but kind of a weird, kind of in a weird IP hell of sorts. And I mean, unfortunately, it's just. Yeah, I just wouldn't expect that to see in any future projects. But since we're here regarding the Maelstrom engine, what was there any other question? Anyone else who has any questions specifically regarding the Maelstrom engine? Post them in chat right now. Just Yeah, so just want to make sure, kind of final call for any other questions regarding Maelstrom engine specifically, or anything that Mirsaneli can answer specifically.
Maybe I also have another question for you. Do you think that you will ever pick up working on Storm engine again in some way, on build 15, for example, or in any other way?
Well, I haven't been thinking about that, but I'm always very ready and very open to help whatever I can. I remember that I helped something. Hemi was having like a problem with some script, and I remember that I said how I fixed that, and then he told me, "Oh, thank you very much. It worked for me as well." So, these kind of things that we had along the way, the issues that we encountered, are mostly related to the engine differences. So the similar bugs will happen to the build 15, just as they happen to build to our build, to the Maelstrom one. I mean, it is inevitable. So whenever someone asks me, like, Mirsaneli, how did you fix this? Of course, I will always be very, very glad to help and very, very ready to help. But I don't have plans in working as a developer on the build 15 or any other build, because I just don't have that much time to be dedicated to this project itself, because it asks very, very much time to make new contents and new features, new locations, new characters, new storylines. I would be very happy if someone made the Black Sails storyline, because, as I said earlier, it is a great TV show, and I think it has a potential to be part of the storyline in these Storm engine games.
Gotcha.
So the last
I'm sorry?
is from Dogs. How many were working on this port altogether? And I think it was just you all the way, except with the help of Jeffrey, right?
Yeah. There were people who were stepping in, from time to time, but they were not actively working on the project. I was. It's a funny thing. When I was speaking to Jeffrey, in one of our private conversations, I said to him, like, Jeffrey, I have a problem. I have a vision of something, and if there are like 10 other people having their own vision, like we can never get together to decide what is that we want to keep in our development. So he laughed and he said, that's what happened to me with the Maelstrom engine. So that's why I'm keeping it closed source. I know it sometimes sounds even selfish, and but I'm that kind of person. I have a vision of something, and I try to go all the way to the end with it. So if someone will play it or no, it's not up to me to decide. But it is like a movie, you are looking someone else's work and someone else's imagination. So Maelstrom version of New Horizons has a lot of things that I personally wanted them to be like that. So that's why they are like that. And basically that is what it is. I mean, there were people who were working and they were very, how can I say, I was very happy to have them. Maybe if you ask me, do I regret not having someone in the team, I can say I regret very much not having Quiet Sun. He was a very good guy and did a lot of things. He wrote the scripts for the weather system, but at the time when he did that, it had some flaws, and later on we fixed those issues with Jeffrey, and we made a perfectly polished weather system. For example, that's what I miss most about having other people in the team. Like he did a great job, and everything in the weather system that we have now was something that he started, and then we just brought the project to the final stage. Killfield also worked on the project. So yes, there were like 5 or 6 people working on it. And if you ask me who started this, because maybe that is also important to say, it's Killfield and myself, like Mirsaneli and Killfield, who is called Pilat, I think, or Pilot. How can it be spelled in the Pirates Ahoy community? We were like trying to port the 2016 build version to 2018. And we failed, though, obviously. We were not very ready for that. Like, the game didn't even want to start. But we didn't give up, and I think it paid off by being so stubborn and wanting to go to the end.
Yeah, we can certainly appreciate, passion projects and whatnot. So, thanks so much for that answer. So it looks like that's actually the end of our questions and whatnot. So thank you so much for answering all of them, Mirsaneli, and giving us so much more information. Looks like a few people are typing. Just want to make sure. Yeah. Alrighty. So I'm not seeing any more questions per se here. I'm just people saying thanks for podcast, thanks for everything.
I also want to thank you for having me, and I hope that with my very modest English knowledge, the language knowledge, I hope I was able to answer properly all the questions, because I sometimes want to make some complex thoughts, and sometimes I am limited by my knowledge of language. So I hope it was okay at that part.
And I'm actually American, personally. English is my native language, and let me tell you, your English was just fine today. DH wanted to make some closing statements here, so I'll let DH close it up. But yeah, you were great today. I understood you just fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So DH, I'll hand this off to you.
Perfect. So thank you again, Mirsaneli, and also Tommy for moderating today. Since I have been giving out a couple of copies already for the Maelstrom engine, I think it's important that I also show you how you install the engine and how you get the game to work, because with Maelstrom engine it is not as straightforward as it is with the other mods, for example. And so I think if you have got some time and if you're interested, I'm just going to share my screen now. And then I'm just going to show you what you have to do after you have downloaded the thing.
I'm sorry, I just want to make a quick statement. So DH, can you not record audio? Because that's going to come through.
Yeah, actually, it's a little bit hard if I'm not recording audio. Do you hear me double now?
Okay, actually, okay, now I made it fine. I just want to make sure it doesn't echo in the recording. I apologize. And unfortunately for the people listening to the recording, you won't be able to see the screen share, but everyone in the stage chat should be able to see the screen share. So DH, we can see it just fine now, and I corrected it on my end, so it won't echo on the recording. So I'm sorry, you can continue to show what you were going to show through screen share. I apologize.
Okay, perfect. So if you see my screen now, just show me in the chat real quick, type in yes or something that you can see it. Yes, okay, perfect. Good. So if you look here, after you've downloaded the game, or the engine, more or less, you have...
We're only seeing your Discord window. You might need to share your actual screen. I think you're just sharing Discord.
Give me a moment. I'm going to do that. Okay.
Yeah, make sure you
There
share
we
your
go.
screen. Yep.
Yeah. Now it should be working. So if you are now seeing my
Yep,
my
we can see it
folders, right?
properly now.
Okay. So after you've downloaded the itch.io app, you've got somewhere where you've installed the itch.io launcher, an itch folder, and then here you have the apps folder, and here you have all the itch.io downloads that you have done on the app, And in here you have, first of all, the folder for the engine itself, and then depending on which games you are going to decide on, so which Maelstrom mods you're going to decide on. So for example, you can also settle for eras, or you can settle for GOF, COS, GOF, stuff like that. So you have your different folders here. And the really important part is, to get the game to work, is that you go into the engine folder, and here you have a bunch of different shortcuts that are not populated at the moment. And so what you can see here that I've done is that I have populated the shortcut for Maelstrom New Horizons. And basically what you are doing is you right click on the shortcut that you want to populate, then you go to the, I don't know what's called in English, settings or something like this.
That's in English, that's properties, I believe.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. And then basically you have to put in two paths here. So first of all, the path to the folder where your Maelstrom engine X is in. And in this case, for example, my path is F because I have it on a separate disk, then a bunch of different folders. And at the end of this, you can see here DirectX 9, 64-bit, and then the Maelstrom X file. So basically what this says here is that if you're here in the folder with the Maelstrom engine, you are going to set up the path for the DirectX 9 64-bit engine file. And if you go into this folder, you can see this is the file that we are setting up. So this is the Maelstrom engine file that you're going to start up with this shortcut. And then the second path is the one to the mod itself. So you can see again, it's the same path in my case. Only thing that's different is that I have set it up, I've set the path up to go to the folder of New Horizons. And so if we look here, we go to apps and then we go to New Horizons. So this is the mod, basically, the mod files, the main directory of the mod files, and I have set the shortcut up to go into this main directory. And with these two paths set in the properties section of the shortcut, you can then start the Maelstrom engine either from this exe file, or you can do another shortcut, for example, on your desktop screen, wherever you want, and then you can start it from this. So I just wanted to show you this because there are quite a lot of people normally that have a problem with it, and I think it's important to get it working. So in any case, if you have any other problems with it, just hit me up or hit Mirsaneli up or anybody of us, and we are really happy to help you guys in case you need any kind of assistance with getting the engine and also the game to work.
Can I?
Yes.
Sorry. Can I just add, because I can see I have never done that, and I have been using Maelstrom engine for so many years. Yes, there is one that is the most, if I can say, most technically correct way as you have done. But if people are having trouble doing that because it might look a bit complicated for them to install it that way, you can only do the following thing. You can download the itch app. You can download, if, for instance, if you are going to download New Horizons mode, you download it. You download the engine, and they are obviously separated things, and they have separated folders inside each folder files. So what you are going to do is you can make it a bit easier for yourself. So you go inside the Gentleman of Fortune Maelstrom engine folder where the engine itself is located. You copy, for instance, the 64-bit files. So the ones that are those ones, all that together with modules. You just copy, but the actual files inside. You do the copy, and then you go inside the New Horizons folder, and you just paste it, because what the engine asks for, the engine needs the files to be together with the program and resources folder. So they need to be together. You can now run the Maelstrom from there. You can just double click and it will open the Maelstrom engine like that way. So it is maybe for myself, I have learned doing that this way, because I don't have to do the paths and to add the targets where all the files are located. So basically you are merging the engine together with the contents of the mod.
You know what?
So
This is
that's
actually
one of the
really
ways.
useful.
That's one of the ways.
I've never known that you can do it this way. This is much more easier than the other way.
It's the easy way. It's the easy way. And of course, from there you just right click on the Maelstrom X, the icon, and you select send to desktop. For example, if you want to have it on your desktop, you can just send it to desktop, and you are having the icon on your desktop. So it makes the life easier, maybe, I think. But of course, there are many ways to install it. But this is one of the ways that I do it. So sorry for interrupting, but I
No,
thought
no
that
problem.
it
This is really useful.
interesting.
I didn't know it, so this is really useful also for me. This is much
You
more
do
easy.
this for all the mods. For all the mods, it's same. It's not only for New Horizons.
Okay, so this is basically it. Then also from my side, if you are interested in a copy of Maelstrom, I still have a lot of copies to give away. So just hit me up with a DM, and I'm going to give you a copy. And I think the rest of the copies that I'm not going to give away here for the audience of the podcast, I think I'm just going to give them away in the regular channels of the Pirates Ahoy community server. Okay, so then thank you very much again, Mirsaneli, for being here today, and Tommy for hosting the podcast, and the audience for attending, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And we'll see you at the next podcast.